On this week's episode of the BS Show, we talk about the price of video games and whether we think they're too expensive or not. Before we jump in, don't forget to stay connected with us on all socials at the BS Show GG. Love what you're hearing, show your support by liking this episode, dropping a comment with your thoughts, sharing this episode, and subscribing to keep up with all our future content. Want us to review a game or us to answer your questions? Drop your recommendations and questions in our comments below. I'm Blake, and with me as always is Steve. Welcome everybody to another episode of the BS Show. I have been having a good week. It's actually been a good week for gaming for me. I was talking to you, Steve, about this. I finally got into an RP server on GTA 5. I've dabbled in GTA 5 online, but I've never seen FiveM. You know, we've talked about how they're helping out Rockstar on GTA 6. So I decided to do it, and me and Sam actually hopped into an RP server. And it was very different. I've never RP'd or had to take on like a different persona, you know, kind of like create like a backstory for my character and stuff like that. And I was telling you, it was a little confusing for me trying to figure out how to do everything. And I told you then we were in it for a few hours. And in the first hour or two, we had a group of guys kidnap us and take us hostage so they could rob a bank. And they ended up paying us like $100,000 each. And they were actually, you know, the community was really nice. You know, while staying in character, you know, I'm trying to ask them questions about what to do things. You know, my backstory is, you know, we're a couple truckers from Southern Alabama, you know, came up here for work and stuff like that. And like I said, trying to keep that persona while interacting with everybody is definitely a challenge. So I tip my hat off to the people who are able to do that, and it is a skill in its own, dude. I'm serious. Like people, I see the videos on TikTok of like the, you know, the RP servers of GTA, and it's just like, you know, they make it look so silly and so easy, but it's actually like it is a skill to be able to take on this persona and, you know, be that person and being able to maintain that character while you're in game. Because I mean, a lot of these servers, they do have, you know, like strict RP rules, and if you're caught like not RPing, like they'll kick you and stuff like that. So like I said, that was really cool. I stayed up probably, I think it was like until like 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning, just playing and wandering around. And you know, this server that we're on, I think it's called like Static something. A lot of the businesses are like player owned. So luckily this group that, you know, took us hostage, you know, they gave us some guns, they gave us money, they gave us ammo, food and drink, and trying to figure out, you know, where to buy guns, where to buy a car, where all this stuff is very hard. And I was very, you know, glad and happy that these dudes who are part of this big gang in the game, they were so willing to help us do this stuff. But other than that, I've been playing a lot more WoW. I know I'm late in this, but I just this guild I just joined. I think I was telling you I'm getting more into PvE. We did they call it drunken raid night. I don't drink, but we all were up until like, I think it was like 11 o'clock last night. We completed the Undermine raid on normal. And I'm gonna say I said this. I said I didn't like the one button rotation, but without knowing, I just started playing Unholy DK. And I had no idea what the fuck I was doing playing that class. So luckily I had my one button rotation to where I was able to get through the whole raid. I think I wiped twice, or I died twice, but it wasn't due to my own fault. Like they were doing some things where it's like, okay, if we wipe, everybody takes a shot, whatever. And so there was like once or twice, like I went and I pulled the boss and I just ran away because, like I said, I don't drink. So I thought it was funny to get them to have to drink. Besides that, man, I haven't really been up to much, man. What about you?
Honestly, I've just been kind of like you. I started playing a little bit of WoW again. I know you were giving me crap about using the one button thing because I downloaded WoW on my Steam Deck and I've just been playing so much WoW. There's like little I guess like an add-on type of thing that you could put on your Steam Deck when you play WoW, and it makes the layout look kind of like basically controllerized.
Okay.
So instead of your taskbar, you have your abilities almost like in a circle, like if you were playing like The Witcher or something like that. So it's pretty cool.
I wanted to ask you a quick question about that too, that you brought that up. So with you being able to play WoW on your Steam Deck, does it like make it more accessible to you. So like I was thinking about this, like in order to play now, you have to go on your computer, boot it up, whatever. Like I feel like everybody had it on like a Steam Deck, or if it was better ported for mobile, I feel like more people would be able to play, because it's something I feel like you can kind of just sit on your on your couch, throw a movie on in the background, and just start playing it on your Steam Deck or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of why I feel like I always kind of gravitated back towards WoW. Like whenever I'm like in a mood to play video games, because usually when I'm playing video games, I like to either like listen to music or have like a YouTube video on the background. And like you said, WoW is like that perfect game where you could have something in the background and still be able to like completely focus on what you're doing. So yeah, I think it would be incredible if it was like perfectly optimized for handhelds, and I didn't have to go through like I had to watch like a 10-minute YouTube video just to get it to figure out how to download it and play it on my Steam Deck. But no, it was so worth it. Like I told you, I set it up with the one button thing, and on my Steam Deck, it was perfect. And even like playing on desktop every once in a while, like I'll hop on and play on desktop, and it's just I'm so used to just doing the one button for my rotation that it's like okay, I'm just gonna do this. I think with certain classes, I'll still definitely like play like normally. Like if I play my DK, I don't necessarily think I need to do the one button macro, but it'd be cool to try it and like compare like
You play Frost or Unholy though?
I've always played Unholy. I've never enjoyed playing Frost. I don't know what it is, but I could just never, yeah, I could never get into it.
Yeah, I get confusing. I get confused with like Unholy, because I was doing Frost for a little while, but like with Unholy, I mean, you have your festering wounds that you have to pop with Scourge Strike, and you have like 5 or 6 different cooldowns. And I didn't even realize, like in Mythic, I think it was, or raids, you don't even run like a bomb limb. So it's like trying to manage my pet and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I just did the one button rotation. We actually had a guy who was playing, I think it was Ellie Shaman, and was using the one button rotation because he was pretty fucked
Really?
up. Yeah, he was pulling over 2 million DPS on an Ellie Shaman with the one button rotation. But it was cool though, because like you said, you got to focus on the mechanics and just kind of have a good time and not take it so seriously.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's WoW has become a very much like an elitist game where it's like if you join like a random run and you're not pulling like good DPS, you're just gonna get kicked. Even if you could be doing all the mechanics like perfectly, you'll just get kicked. So I think this kind of alleviates a lot of that too, where it's like okay, people newer players will feel more comfortable like jumping in on like a pug and just being able to go in and not get shit talked and kicked from the group.
So, are you looking forward to the MLP Classic? I know you were talking about leveling up a panda so you can get your mount. So, are you think you're gonna be making the swap to Classic to play MLP?
So I I already got them out. I did that and but I don't know, I was thinking about it and I was like contemplating like what I'm gonna play and what I would want to do if I go to MLB Classic, but I don't necessarily think I'm going to put that much time and effort into that.
For some reason, like I was talking to Sam about this too, is like, I like Classic. MLP was probably my favorite expansion, but it's not retail. Like there's always something that's going to be drawing me back to retail. Like, I can't link my achievements in Classic to retail. Like, if I did PvP in MLP Classic, I can't link those back in retail. It's a whole separate game. It's like, I feel like you kind of got to do one or the other.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of most people are. It's like you have the classic WoW like vanilla players. You have the people that just play Lich King, that just play Wrath, and then you have the people that are playing whatever new expansion. Like when they were playing Kata, then they played Mop, Season of Discovery, stuff like that. So it's you have people that kind of just focus on that one thing. But yeah,
It's hard doing everything with how much grind there is in that game.
I think for me it's just the fact that like yeah, Mop was something that was fun at the time, and it's now but you've already kind of done that. You've already played that. You've already played that version of the game, and
Well, and
this
it
is
goes
like
to the
the
very
current.
latest patch of that expansion too. It's like the very last patch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's still cool. I think like you said, Mop was probably one of my favorite times in World of Warcraft. Just it's like every class that I played was very good, and then the raids were fun. That's kind of when I started getting a little bit more into PvP and a little bit more into PvE.
Is
And
it?
the Siege of Orgrimmar was like the first like big raid that I cleared in heroic. So for me, that was like it was like the point in time where I just got good hooked in the game.
Well, that was also so that me as well. That was the first raid I've ever done where I hit AOTC, and I think it was a certain date where they released Mythics, because you remember it used to be like a 10-man raid or a 25-man. There was no doing 18 people or 27. Had to be 10 or 25. So I always did it on 25. And I said I did it. I did the heroic garage kill like 2 days before they released it on Mythic, because you had to beat it before that date in order to get that ahead of the curve title. And I think it was like a transmog or something like that you got for beating or for downing Garrosh on heroic before they opened up the Mythic version of it. But anyway, man, besides why, anything else you've been playing, or you just been kind of?
No, yeah, that's really it.
All right, man. So let's cut through the BS and get right into this episode. So something we talk about a lot is the price of games. And I'm noticing this. I know you're noticing. I'm sure a lot of listeners out here, a lot of gamers are noticing this. It's just like the price of games, man. Do we think games nowadays are too expensive? I think it's no shock here. That AAA games right now are sitting at $70 price point just for the base game. Compared to $49 or $50 a few years ago. And then during the 360 and PS3 era, it got bumped up to 60. I was thinking about this. I'm like, with the price of it, do we think like the value of games has really gone up? Like, let's just say over the past 10 years. Do you think the values of these games actually have increased to justify that price increase?
I think it really just depends on what you quantify value as. Like, are you seeking value from like just like gameplay, or do you want like a more cinematic experience? I think it's hard to say, because it's like, obviously you can't compare games from 10 years ago to today, because the technology has improved so much that it's like things that were very difficult to do back then are just like nothing now. So everything flows a lot smoother. But I honestly think it's so hard to say. Like part of me says yes and part of me says no. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just the technology has gotten better. So maybe it's not necessarily the value of games, but just like the production behind it has gotten better, because the tools and resources that these companies have, have obviously advanced. And I was going to say too, like, what do you think exactly is causing the price? Like, do you think it's just inflation, pure greed? Like, me personally, like, I honestly think like it's just pure greed, because you're, like I said, you're noticing the higher price point in your AAA games. Your Assassin's Creed, I think that was like $79. Oh god, dude, like Call of Duty, is another $70 game. But then you got games like Expedition 33 that were $40, and the game was fantastic. And I will say, because I was thinking about this too. I'm like, $70 isn't a bad price for a game if you're getting your value out of that game. So like, a game like Grand Theft Auto, where it's been out, 15 years or whatever, 10 years, I can't remember the exact amount of years it's been out. We paid $50 for it back in the day. Like, it's very obvious. It's easy to say, yeah, I got that $50 worth of value. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I don't know if it is just it's like pure greed, or it's like, I don't know.
You want to know the funny thing? Like, when I was doing my research for this, it's the same narrative was like kind of going on for the last, like, basically since 2020, that like, oh, this bump to $70 as like the norm. So this has been something that's been kind of going back and forth between the landscape for a long time. But I mean, games have always been expensive. Like, even like some of the games like back in the day, like NES games, there's some games that were going for like $70-$80 back then.
Maybe we just sort of like kind of have like shaders on, and we don't remember paying that price. We think, oh, we never did that, but really we just were, it wasn't really our money. It was our parents back in the day buying the shit.
Yeah. If you think about like when the jump went from like, I remember like there was like a very specific point where games were $50. Like, every single new AAA game was $50. And then I think it was like the jump between PS3 to PS4. It went from $50 to now everything is $60. And I think we're kind of experiencing the same thing where it's like people just kind of have to get accustomed to like, okay, this is the new norm. And after a while, like no one's even going to blink an eye. We might even see games start going back down to like 60, $50, and it'll be interesting to see that dynamic.
See what I was noticing. I was thinking about this too. Your biggest games right now are your live service games, right? Like your Fortnite, your Warzone. Like, what's crazy to me is like those games. I think could be justified in charging you $60-$70 for the game, right? Because and just hear me out on this. Your Fortnite, dude. How much content do you get out of that game? It's so much content, right? You're playing it. It's been played for what, like 10 years now. Same thing with like Warzone or these battle royale games. It's like, but a lot of them are the free to play with just like microtransactions. But like, I'd be totally content paying. It's weird how it's kind of like backwards. You would think that like your live service games would be more expensive than your non live service games.
Well, it also depends on the game. Like Fortnite probably realize they're going to make so much more money doing everything for free and just and charging for the microtransactions.
So they're probably
Epic
like, what,
also,
make it free so everybody can play it, and then we guarantee people are going to be spending so much money on the fucking shop that it doesn't really, we can justify the free cost behind the game.
yeah, I mean they just want people playing the game. That's kind of why it's like Epic even went out that's like if you create a map and it's super popular, we're going to pay you because a lot of people are playing the game just to play your map. So Epic is I don't know how they were able to do what they did with Fortnite, but it's they make
Probably why
so much
everybody
money off
tries to be like
microtransactions.
them.
Yeah,
So I just
but
wonder
it's
too, like if these games don't need to, more games need to pick up like that live service model because I guess and then just focus more on like a battle pass microtransactions instead of
but then
on
that also kind of gets you in a situation where like Call of Duty, where it's they have the backing of this whole AAA uh, from Modern Warfare 2, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like because I don't know if Warzone is tied to the new Call of Duty. Like if you have to buy the Call of Duty to be able to play Warzone.
no, you can literally
Okay,
just
okay,
get
okay.
Warzone.
Okay, never mind then. I thought Warzone was like tied to Call of Duty, and it's like if you're having to pay $70 every single year just to get the new Call of Duty, so you can continue playing
Yeah,
Warzone.
no,
Like
no.
okay. I was like that's kind of what you would what I think you would end up getting is like if you start having these companies that are like, oh, let's bring out this like new live service game, and but we're gonna charge. But then on top of that, we're gonna have all these other like microtransactions, which I think is what like Destiny tried to do too in the beginning. Like when Destiny 2 came out, it was originally pay to play. You had to buy the game. Now it's completely free. But it's like so many things were like tied behind microtransactions that it kind of turned people off.
Like you talk about like content itself was tied behind microtransactions, or just like I'm cool with like cosmetics being tied behind microtransactions, but not like actual content, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's Destiny is like it's a looter shooter, so it's like you're going around and it's very similar to like Dune, where it's like you do dungeons and events to get materials so you can craft gear, and it's like people were just there's like certain weapons where it's like it just wasn't even worth the grind. It's like people were just gonna pay for it and just get it.
Okay. So I guess I just kind of want to wrap this little part up about this. Like, so again, what do you think is causing the price increase? Is it just you think that like these companies are, hey, we can get away with charging people this, and people are still buying it? Or is it just like everything's more fucking expensive? The salaries are higher. Everything is a pure inflation.
It's definitely everything is more expensive. Like developers are getting paid absurd amount of money, but then it's also like that need to continue to doing something bigger and better. And I think we've kind of reached a point where I'm sure a lot of people would definitely agree that there's really no need to need to push like graphics and all this other technology like that much more forward. Like everything looks incredible now. And
Yeah.
I just think so many companies are just so focused on how the game looks and how the game is perceived, just off like visual aesthetics that everything else kind of gets put on the back end. It's like you saw with like it I'm trying to think of like a recent example where it's like they just like so over so overly like pushed just how the game looked that like gameplay and everything else was trash, and even to the point where it wasn't optimized well. So no matter how good it looked, it just didn't do well.
Yeah, but you said that before too. You've even like come out and said like, it doesn't matter how good your game looks, is your game has to be fun. Like that needs to be your number one priority in the
Yeah,
game. Is
but
are the players going to enjoy playing this?
it's hard to say because I definitely agree with that, but it's like when you're thinking of it from like a AAA game company's perspective, like monochrome of AAA gaming, it's like I think you expect like something to look like real life, like a theater, like a movie. So I think that's kind of where their perspective is. Like they're trying to make something crazy, like crazy to look at, crazy visually, aesthetically pleasing, because it's like I think it's just a perception of like, especially like younger gamers. Like I remember like when I was a kid, if I saw a game that looked like 8-bitty, I would probably think, oh, that's not as good of a game as like something like Final Fantasy or Crash Bandicoot, because like these are 3D and it's like you can see this. It's like it just felt like the quality was higher, and I think that's what they're kind of trying to steer towards. I think that's why AAA games tend to always want to look better, and
Yeah, but I
a
don't
lot
think
of the
we need
time.
games to look super realistic because, like we've talked about numerous times, is like people don't play games to feel like they're still, they want to play games to escape reality, right? Like that's why a lot of us do this shit. So it's like, why would I want something being super realistic and that looks real world? Like, give me the over the top fantasy bullshit, you know?
No, I agree. Like I'm saying, I'm just thinking of it from their perspective, and it's like why they would want to do something like that.
Money.
Um,
They're just looking at it
eh,
from that aspect, I
I mean,
think.
most games probably aren't as profitable as you think. Like with how much money these companies are throwing into games and like how expensive things are costing now, I I doubt like any new game unless it's like a very small developer is like making much money.
Well,
And
they probably
and
make
ten
most of the
dollars
money's on microtransactions, anything, but
Well, yeah, if they have microtransactions, I mean, $10 realistically isn't like going to push their profits to a whole nother level. I just think it's Nintendo was able to kind of say like, okay, we're gonna do this, and every other company kind of just saw it. It's like, oh, okay, we can do this too.
all right, so let me ask you this one. This one I was actually thinking about too. What about games that have a cost, but then as well like a subscription based model? So like your Final Fantasy, WoW. Do you think that that's an outdated model? Because I've seen this on the WoW forums and I visit them. Like, WoW needs to remove their subscription model. It's kind of deterring people from playing their games. So, there aren't very many that have that subscription model. It's just, you buy the game, that's it kind of thing. Do you think that, these games like, again, Final Fantasy, WoW, really should be removing that model?
I don't think any new game can adopt that model and be successful. Um, I honestly think the only reason WoW and Final Fantasy are able to do it is because they've been around for so long, and it's basically you're either going to play the game or you're not. It's not like one of those things where they like their current player base isn't going to just stop playing because they don't want to pay the $15. Maybe i- if they make it free to play, I don't necessarily think it's going to attract like that many more players. Honestly, I think that's kind of like a sign of the end, I would say.
If they go free
If
to play?
Yeah, if Blizzard ever makes that's kind of what MMOs tend to do. It's like you'll see it all I guess not so much now, but like back in the day when like e- it's like every other MMO that was coming out was like the WoW killer, and it would initially be pay to play, like you would pay for it once, and then after a while it's just like, oh, everything is free to play. It's like you just need to download the game, play it, because it's justifying them keeping the servers up.
I don't know. I mean, I've said this before too, though. Like, I would be okay with WoW going free to play and then them adapting a battle pass because essentially that's what, to me, that's kind of what a subscription based model is. Is you're paying. I mean, yeah, you're paying to play the game, but what's the difference between paying $15 a month to play WoW or paying $15 a month while you're doing Fortnite for the battle pass? I mean, granted, you're getting items and cosmetics out of that battle pass, but like I think if WoW would just go to that free to play model and come up with a way to introduce a battle pass that would make it, a lot better. I think a lot more people actually would probably come back to the game and play it if it was something like that.
I mean, they kind of did that with the WoW token, though, didn't they? It's like, especially like during WoD, it was so easy to make gold that I think the people that want to make the game free to play are able to make it free to play.
Yeah, okay, well then I just think that, I mean, yeah, you're right. You could buy WoW tokens with in-game and then convert the WoW tokens to Battle.net currency and then use your Battle.net currency to pay for it.
Yeah.
But I think that the battle pass is such a good idea. I'm not saying, I know this sounds bad for saying, yeah, these companies, it's such a good thing to be charging money for all this stuff. But like, realistically, what gets people to constantly come back to your game and play it? It's the cosmetics. It's the attachment to the characters. It's the way you're able to customize and stuff. Like, WoW doesn't, have that. Imagine being able to have a battle pass where you're able to get, old transmogs or old mounts. Yeah, you're going to have your hardcore players who are like, oh, that's bullshit. My Ashes of Alar had a 0.01% chance to drop, and it took me 9 years to finally get it, and now Joe Schmo got it at tier 33 of this fucking battle pass. But you need reasons for people to keep coming on and playing, because like we talked about with WoW, you don't really have that reason to keep coming on. And like if you have that battle pass with 50 tiers, 100 tiers, or whatever it is, it kind of gives you a reason to keep logging on it and progressing through that battle pass. Whether and like what they could do too is ways to progress through the battle pass is just like, you earn XP from doing mythic dungeons or raids or BGs, any kind of content gives you XP towards that battle pass where you're able to get like the old mounts and old tier sets and, maybe, toys or titles and shit like that. Like, I think that would be a fantastic thing to the game.
I mean, I kind of agree to disagree. I think they've definitely done a lot of like similar things. I just don't think WoW really needs that to like want to bring the player base back. Like I think they're able to do that with just like the recent event that they did. Like
You talking about this loot goblin, or are you talking about with the MOP?
Yeah. Like the loot goblin thing. Like that's like a big put. Like that's one of the big reasons I kind of just like, oh, I'm gonna download this again. So they just need to do like. They're just doing like these little events, like, and then obviously bringing back the classic servers. I think that was like a big push to get people back. But I don't necessarily think they need to look at anything like that. I like I said, I think once they start doing things like that, and they're getting rid of the subscription based model. I think it's like I said, I think it's beginning of the end for this game.
So I got another good question here. Something I was thinking about too. Nowadays, like 90% of games, I'd say, this is just a bullshit statistic that I'm making up, but it sounds accurate. 90% of games, I'd say, are probably purchased digitally, right? Do you think that digital games should actually be cheaper than the physical ones?
Yes.
Okay, so we see eye to eye on that then. Okay.
Honestly, like I would love to see more games start doing like collector's editions for like a physical copy. Like I don't even need like a disc or anything, just an actual like collector physical copy thing that I could keep. Like there's so many games that have come out recently that if they had some sort of like physical like thing that it could have that's like for this game specifically, like I would definitely buy. Like I guess we did play Baldur's Gate with me for a little bit, and it's like that was one of those games where it's like when I first played it, I was like, holy crap, I was blown away. Then they released this like collector's edition thing for like $200, and it sold out in, like 45 minutes. By the time I saw it, it's like I couldn't get it. But I would love for more games to do something like that.
That's actually a good point too, because I was thinking about it too from like the collection aspect of it. Like, do you remember having the entertainment center just full of fucking video games, and like even like now, like some of those old like N64 Super Nintendo games are worth quite a bit of money. So like looking at it, even from like even if it's not for the monetary gain, but like the collecting aspect of it, like imagine we still had like the old James Bond 007, like just like the memorabilia, and just to have like a collection edition. I think that's a fantastic point. Like there are a lot of games that I've greatly enjoyed, like League of Legends, WoW, Dune Awakening right now, that all of these games I've bought digitally. I don't have a physical copy of the game, but I would love to support the games and support the companies, and I 100% would spend $100, $200 on like a collector's edition. If I got some kind of cool memorabilia that I could collect, from that
Yeah.
game.
And I think one thing like games are doing to kind of alleviate that is like giving you that like digital collectible item. Like I know like Assassin's Creed, they gave you the transmog that you could put on. World of Warcraft, you get like a mount, stuff like that.
See,
Where
but
it's like
I don't want
you,
digital. I want a physical thing.
no,
I
I
want
I
something I can put on
definitely
a
agree.
shelf.
I no, I agree. But it's like I said, I think it's it's probably more like predicated towards like the younger generation. Like most of them probably is like I don't need anything physical. I just want my character to look cool.
That's true. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask one quick question. What do you think is like the most overpriced game you've ever bought?
What do you, like as far as like being worth it or not
Not
worth
worth
it?
it. Not worth it. Give me a AAA game that you've bought within the past, let's just say 4 to 5 years, that you think wasn't worth its price point.
Um, ooh, probably Assassin's Creed,
You know,
the most
I
recent
was
one.
gonna say
And
the
it's
same
like
exact thing too.
honestly, the only reason I would even say that is because of I mean, it was $70. It was the base version was $70, and
So how many
yeah,
hours did you get played in that game?
I played like about 25, 30 hours. Like I don't get me wrong. Like the game was super, super fun. It was very enjoyable. It was just so repetitive and the storyline was not good enough to like grasp me
Repetitive.
to want to keep playing. Like the storyline kind of sucked. And like I said, the gameplay itself, the gameplay loop was so every single mission was the exact same thing. It's like every tower looked the same. Like there was nothing different. Like I could basically go to one tower that I've never been to, and it's like I knew where every single thing was because they were all the same. But
Yeah.
again, the game was fun. It was super fun.
No, no, I agree with you 100%. That's actually the answer that I was going to say was Assassin's Creed. I just looked at my Steam profile and I have like 16 hours played on it. Because, like I said, every town was kind of just like a copy paste from the one that you had just visited. The mission before. Sorry, go ahead.
Which is crazy because it looks so good. Like
Yeah, graphically, it's really good.
oh, it looked incredible. Like it's funny because it's like I had just gotten back from Japan when that game came out, and I was like messing around with my buddy that went with me, and I was like, dude, I'm just walking around to like feel like how it was when we were in Japan and shit. But it's such a I guess like a sad waste, like you were saying. The game was so good, looked so good, but it's just so repetitive.
Yeah, and unfortunately, once we passed like that 60 minutes of playing or whatever it was, we couldn't refund it. Because I feel like after the first hour or two, like I was like, okay, I probably got,
Oh,
I
really?
could
It's
I
like
could tell whether or not I liked it or not.
I think that's such a hard game to be able to tell though, because like I said, it's so fun in the beginning, and like going through and like clearing your first couple towers is so fun. Like doing the puzzles is fun. That for me, it wasn't until like hour 10, 15 that I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of a lot
Not
of the
worth
same.
it.
Where it's like I've been able to tell like right away. Like I played the new Far Cry. It was on sale for like $4 or $5 or something like that. So I got it and I played it, and like within like an hour, I was like, oh yeah, this kind of sucks. It's like the same thing over and over and over again, and it's like
Just
yeah,
not worth the money.
yeah, and the again like if the story's not compelling enough and like making me want to like stay or like there's at least not like one little cool thing from the that I'm able to do. Like Just Cause is one of those games where it's like it's very repetitive and you do a lot of the same stuff, but like the way you can move around like makes it so fun that it's I just don't even think about like
The price.
how boring the
Oh
gameplay is
yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
I guess I kind of want to, ask the same question to our audience here. Again, if you want to leave a comment, what's the most overpriced game that you ever bought, and can you justify the $70 price on these games? So I guess I kind of wanted to wrap everything up, Steve, with this. Do we think games are justified in this $70 price average, or are we not getting our value out of these games? I'm going to say most games in today's day and age, I think they're justified in that $70 price range, and I think a lot of them we are getting a $70 worth of value out of them.
Yeah, I think to some extent, yes. Again, like there's going to be your outliers like Assassin's Creed Shadows, where I mean, even then, it's like if you got 20 hours worth, is that worth $70? Like back in the day
Yeah.
when games were like $60 average, like your average game was 20 hours long. Like I mean, I think it's fine. There's enough most games like nowadays that are coming out, like unless they're just completely broken or like uh a copy paste of the previous versions, like with your like Call of Duties and like sports games, it's kind of like yeah, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, I'm agree. I think games have definitely stepped up their value and how good they are. I mean, obviously, like you said, there are a few outliers, but for the most part, most games that have been released have fucking hit the nail on the head. So some new games that are coming out, Steve. I think you're actually probably looking forward to these ones, or one of these I'm about to mention. So you got the Islanders New Shores is coming out July 10th on all platforms. You got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, and this is actually going to include some new maps, some new skaters, better music, more advanced tricks and shit like that. It's coming out on all platforms too, July 11th. I'm actually going to be picking that up.
Yeah,
You saw, yeah. I had a feeling that you were because you had talked about wanting to get the Tony Hawk. I was like, "Ooh, Steve's gonna love that this game's
I
coming out here in
I
a couple
I'm
days."
just I'm like patiently waiting for the undergrounds to get redone.
God, dude, so much time I have spent on those games. So some games that you guys should check out on Steam that are selling now. I know these summer sales still going on, but these games right here you should definitely check out. You got Ready or Not is 50% off at $24.99. Elden Ring is 40% off at $35.99. And Cyberpunk 2077 is 65% off at $20.99. And that's it for today's episode of the BS Show. If you enjoyed the unfiltered conversations, make sure to share this podcast and to follow us on all socials at the BS Show GG. Want us to review a game or us to answer your questions? Drop your recommendations and questions in our comments below. We appreciate you listening, and we'll be back next week with more straight talk. No BS.